Okay, so today we want to talk about testing for conditions and also something called control flow. So basically these two, conditionals and control flow, basically go hand in hand, because once we learn how to test for these conditions, whether it's equality, inequality, comparisons, we're comparing things, whether something is greater than the other or less than the other, we can use those conditions to determine what kind of actions a computer is supposed to perform. That's where control flow comes in. Okay, so we have a set of conditions. Based on whether these conditions are met or not, then we want Python to do something. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start off easily. We'll learn how to test for equality and also how to test for inequality. It's very, very important that we are able to test if things are equal or if things are not equal. Then we also learn how to do comparisons, numerical comparisons, which is if something is greater than or less than, greater or equal or lesser equal. Then we're also going to learn how to test. Sometimes you want to test more than one condition. Okay, sometimes you want to test for multiple conditions. Before the Python actually does something, you want to make sure that a set of conditions have been met. Okay, most commonly you test for two conditions. So if both conditions need to be true, so there's something you use to do that. Or if one of the conditions need to be true, or if neither of them have to be true, then you want to carry out a certain series of actions. So we will learn how to do that, how to test for multiple conditions using something known as Boolean operators. So we're going to see what these Boolean operators are. The other thing we're going to do is we'll learn how to check if a value is in a list or not. Because you might have a very long list, then you want to find out if a particular value is in that list or if it's not. Then we'll learn how to make decisions with Python, and that's what's called decision making or control flow, using something called the if statement, the else if statement, this elif, this is else if statement, and then the else statement. Then there's something called nested statements, so we'll see what these are, and we'll see how to use an if statement with a list to check if a certain item is in that list and if the list is empty. So let us start with how we carry out tests. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is comparisons. We'll carry out comparisons, and also how to carry out how to check multiple conditions. So when it comes to comparison, the first comparison we're going to do is the equality one. You want to check if things are equal. If two things are equal or not, that's what we want to do. So in Python, we check for equality using two equal signs. These two equal signs. We have seen one of the equal signs before, but in Python we check for equality using two equal signs. Okay. For example, here we're going to check if the number 4 is equals to 4. So how do we do this? We put two equal signs in between these two values we want to check for equality for. So there has to be a value on the left of the two equal signs. There has to be a value on the right. So basically what we're trying to say is here, we're trying to tell Python to check if 4, which is on the left, is equal, the value 4, which is on the left, it's a number, is equal to the value 4, which is on the right. If that is the case, it turns out that these two values, these things we have given Python, if they are equal, then Python in that case displays a true. This true is what is known as a Boolean value. So when you're doing comparisons, you're going to have one of two values, either a true or a false. That's what Python is going to give you when you're doing comparisons, whether you're comparing numbers with equality, not equal, or you're doing all this checking for multiple conditions. At the end of the day, you need a value, and that value is going to be a true or a false. Here we check if 3 is equal to 4. So that's what you use, two equal signs. You put a value this side, you put a value that side. This equality operator needs two values on both sides for it to work. Then 3 equals to 4. This one turns out to be false, so we get a false. You can also check for equality. The checking for equality is not restricted only to numbers. You can also check for equality with strings. For example, here I have a string Lusaka on the left of the equal sign, of the equality sign. Then I have the string dollar on the right. So we ask Python to give us the result of if Lusaka is equal to dollar. And it tells us that these two strings are not equal. Here I check for Lusaka on the left and I put Lusaka on the right, and everything seems to be the same. So we check for equality there. Python tells us that Lusaka on the left and Lusaka on the right, they're equal. Here I check for Lusaka written in a different way. It has got a capital letter, starts with a capital letter, then Lusaka with all small letters. I check for equality. Python tells me that these two strings are not the same. So you can see something here when it comes to Python, that it treats this string with a capital letter, which is Lusaka, and this other one with a small letter, which is Lusaka, to be two different strings. The reason is because of the capitalization in the other one. So capitalization is very important to Python. It makes a difference. Are we clear? Python does not ignore capitalization. It takes it into account when it's doing things. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we move on to inequality. How do you check that things are not equal? Okay. Inequality, we check for inequality using this combination of characters, an exclamation mark, and one equal sign. So this stands for inequality. We read this as not. The exclamation mark in Python is the not equal. So it says not equal. So in this case, we want to check if 3 is not equal to 4. 3, there's a value on the left, then 4 is the value on the right. 3 not equals to 4 is a true statement. So in this case, when you run this, Python tells us this is true. Okay. Then we want to check if 4 is not equals to 4. 4 not equal to 4, this statement is not correct. So when you run this, Python tells us this is false. Okay, so always when you're doing these comparisons with equalities and equality, the value you get at the end of the comparison, Python gives you a value, whether it's a true or a false. Then here we can also carry out these inequality things, inequality with strings. For example, here I compare the string Lusaka not equals to $. So in this case, I get a true. Then here I compare Lusaka, everything same, not equal to Lusaka on the right, and here I get a false. Then here Lusaka, one with starting with a capital L, not equal to Lusaka, which starts with small l, and this statement is true. So this is how we check if things are equal, values are equal to each other, or if they're not equal to each other. If you carry out a comparison like this, the result you're going to get at the end of the day is either going to be a true or you're going to get a false. Are we clear?
Yes.
You can actually do more. You can carry out more comparisons with Python. For example, you can check if one value is greater than the other one, or if one value is less than the other one, or if one value is greater or equal to the other one, or if one value is less or equal to the other one. So if you want to check for greater than, you use this character. So you find that on your keyboard. If you want to check for less than, that's what you use. If you want to check for greater than or equals to, it's a combination of this angle, then an equal sign. So this is greater than or equals to, and this one is less than or equals to. So you combine them like that. So let's check for greater than. So for greater than, it checks if the value on the left is greater than the value on the right. That's how it works. It checks if the value on the left of this greater than sign is bigger than the value on the left. So 4 greater than 3. This is a true statement. Then 3 greater than 4. This is definitely not true because 3 is not greater than 4. 3 is less than 4. So this one, when you run it, you get a false. Then here, Lusaka greater than $, this is false. When it comes to strings, words, Python follows the alphabet. Okay? When it comes to words, strings, Python follows the alphabet. So letters which are higher in the alphabet are considered to be greater than letters which are lower in the alphabet. So in this case, Python compares L and N. Since L comes earlier in the alphabet, then Python comes up with the conclusion that Lusaka is definitely less than $, because just the comparison of the first letter, it uses that to come up with what is a result. So you get a false. Then here, Lusaka greater than Lusaka. This is another type of comparison. So you can see this one, you get a false. So what is Python doing? Python is using, if I do this, then that, and I do this, not this one. When you run it, it gives us true. So you can see that in this case, the difference is just the letters L. One is capitalized, the other one is not capitalized. So you can see for the one which is capitalized, if we put the value of the Lusaka which is capitalized on the left, say Lusaka is greater than the Lusaka with the small letters, Python says this is not the case. If we put the one with the small letters this side, then the one capitalized that side, now it says true. So what you conclude from here is that Python treats small letters to be greater than capital letters. We can try to confirm this again by saying the following. We can do the following. We can say L, small letter L, greater than capital letter L. That's true. We say capital letter L greater than small letter L. Python tells you this is not true. So you can see how Python looks at letters. It first starts with the letters, the position of the letters in the alphabet. Okay? The higher the letter is in the alphabet, the greater it is. However, when it comes to the same letter, small letters and capital letters, small letters are considered to be greater than capital letters. Are we clear?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, fine. Next, we move on to the less than operator. So this one, the less than operator, is used to confirm if the value you've put on the left is less than the value you've put on the right. So here we're trying to check if 3, which is on the left, is less than 4. 3 less than 4. You run that, that's true. 4 less than 4 is the value on the left, less than 3. This is not true, this is false. Now we know something about Lusaka and $. Lusaka starts with L, $, starts with N. So the L comes earlier in the alphabet. So definitely Lusaka is less than $. Okay, so Lusaka less than $, that's true. Then here, Lusaka with a capital letter less than Lusaka with a small letter. We have seen how Python treats letters, capital letters and small letters. It treats small letters as greater than the capital letter. So in this case, Lusaka with the capital letter less than Lusaka with the small letter, this is also true. Is this clear?
Yes.
The other thing is, so far we have looked at how to check for equality if two values are the same, are equal. How to check for inequality if two values are not equal to each other. Then how to check for if two values, the one on the left is greater than the one on the right, and how to check for if the one on the left is less than the one on the right. The other thing we want to do here is we want to check if the value on the left is greater than or equal to. That's what to do. So sometimes you want to carry out this operation of greater than or equal to. Okay, so you use this angle bracket, angle bracket in combination with an equal sign. So here we check. So 3 is, that's what we put on the left. Then the 4 is what you've put on the right. So what we want to do here, we want to check if 3 is greater than 4 or 3 is equal to 4. So there are two conditions here. The first one is this one, 3 greater than 4. Clearly that's not true because 3 is not greater than 4. The other test is 3 equal to 4. Again, this one is not true because 3 is not equal to 4. So in this case, both tests, the 3 greater than 4 fails, then the 3 equal to 4 also fails. So in this case, both these conditions, they're not true. So in this case, when you run this, you get a false. Are we clear on how this one works?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a combination of two conditions. You're carrying out two tests. Okay? Then we come to this one here. You've got a 4 on the left, you've got a 3 on the right. So it says 4, the first condition is 4 greater than 3. That's true. 4 equals to 3. That's false. Okay? So what we have is 4 greater than 3 or 4 equals to 3. The first one, 4 greater than 3, is true. The other one, 4 equals to 3, is false. So what we need for this thing to work is one of the conditions has to be true. Are we clear?
Yes.
So in this case, the 4 greater than 3 is true. The 4 equals to 3 is not true. So we just need one of them to be true. So if one of them is true, when you run it, you get a true. That's how this greater than or equals to thing works. One of them needs to be true. If both of them are true, that's okay. But usually that's not the case. It's just one of them which is true. If both of them are false, then you get a false. Here we come to this one. 3, we've got a 3 on the left, you've got a 3 on the right. So 3 greater than 3. That's not true. Right? Because 3 is not greater than 3. But 3, so this one, 3 greater than 3, that's not true. Then 3 equals to 3, this one is true. So the first one, 3 greater than 3, that's not true. That's a false. Then 3 equals to 3, that is true. So one of them is true. So in this case, when you run this, you get a true. Is it clear how these things work?
Yes.
Okay. Then we move on to less than or equal to, which is this one. Less than or equals to. So again, we're combining an angle bracket and an equal sign. So this one checks if the value on the left is less than the value on the right, or the value on the left is equal to the value on the right. So again, you've got two conditions. The value on the left less than the value on the right, or the value on the left equal to the value on the right. So here we say, so we've got a 3 and you've got a 4. So 3 less than, so the first check is 3 less than 4. That is true. Then 3 equals to 4. That is false. But one of them is true. The 3 less than 4 is true. The 3 equals to 4 is false. So we just need one of them to be true. And you run that, you get a true. Then here you have 4 on the left, then 3 on the right. 4 less than 3. 4 less than 3 is not true. 4 equals to 3 is not true. So both the conditions 4, both tests 4 less than 3, that gives you a false. 4 equals to 3, that also gives you a false. So both of them are false and you get a false. Then you come to this one, 3 less than 3. You've got a 3 this side, you've got a 3 this side. So 3 less than 3, this is false, because 3 is not less than 3. But 3 equals to 3, this is true. Are we clear? So one of them is true.
Yes.
Yeah, one of them is true. The other one is false. 3 less than 3 is false. 3 equals to 3, that is true. So if you run that, you get a true. Okay. So here we want to do something else. I want to say testing multiple conditions. Testing multiple conditional testing. Testing multiple conditions. Conditional tests. Multiple conditionals using Boolean operators. So what do you have here? Any questions?
So far, so good.
All right, that's good. If people understand it. Okay. Sometimes you want to test for you've got multiple things you want to test for. Okay. You don't just want to carry out one test and you get one true, or another test. You want to do more than one test. Okay. You want to do more than one test. If you want to do more than one test, then Python allows you to do that using what are known as Boolean operators. Python 3 supports three main Boolean operators: and, or, and not operators, like this, and not operators, for use to test for multiple conditions at once. Okay, so how does this work? The AND operator. The AND operator these are Boolean operators, are also called logical operators. Okay, so the AND operator requires that both conditions be true. If both conditions you're testing turn out to be true, in that case you're going to get a true. That's the AND operator. If one of them, so both conditions need to give you a true. If one of them is not true, then you try to use the AND operator to test for multiple conditions. You say this and this and this and this and like that. Then you're going to get a false. Okay? So in this case, the AND operator gives you a true when two expressions or whatever conditions you're testing are true. The OR operator, on the other hand, only requires at least one of the conditions to be true. If one of the conditions is true, minimum of one, then it's going to give you a true. Both of them can be true, that's fine, then you still get a true. For the AND operator, both of them have to be true. If one of them is true, the other one is forced to get a false. If both of them are forced to get a false, the OR operator, one of them, at least one of them has to be true, then you get a true. If both of them are true, that's fine. If both of them are false, you get a false. This one, the NOT operator, basically what this does is turns a condition which is false into a true, and it turns a condition which is true into a false, and that's what you're going to see. So here, I start with this one. 3 less than 4. 3 less than or equals to 4. So I check. 3 less than 4. This is true. 3 equals to 4. That is false. So one of them is true. That's fine. So in this case, I get it true. Then I come to this one. 3 less than 3. This is false. 3 equals to 3. This is true. So when I run that, I get it true. So I have got these two tests, this condition tests and this one. These two, both of them, they give me a true. Okay? So I can test them. Right now, I've tested them separately. I've said 3 less than or equals to 4. I did a separate test, I get it true. Then 3 less than or equals to 3. I did a separate test, I get it true. But I can do this at the same time. Like this. I can say 3 less than or equals to 4. So I get it true. This will give me a true from, as you can see there. And 3 less than or equals to 3. That's going to give me a true. So these bits, the tests are done first. So when this test is done, you get a true this side. When this test is done, you get a true. So you get a true and true. When you get a true and true, that gives you a true. Are we clear?
Yes.
So this is how you test for multiple conditions at once. So we change something. Now we say 3 greater than or equals to 4. 3 greater than 4, that's false. 3 equals to 4, that's false. So I've got a false. Then 3 less than or equals to 3. 3 less than or equals to 3. 3 less than 3, that's false. 3 equals to 3, that's true. So this one gives me true. So this one, I can test both of them at the same time. I say 3 greater than or equals to true. This gives us a false, as we can see from here. And 3 less than or equals to 3. This gives us a true. So this side, you've got a false. This side, you've got a true. One of them is true, the other one is false. So when you use the AND operator like that, you get a false, because the requirement is that both these conditions need to be true. If any condition turns out to be false, then you get a false. Okay? Then here I check if 3 is greater than or equals to 4. Clearly, this is false. 4 is less than or equals to 3. This is a false. So I've got a false. 3, I can test them at once. So 3 greater than or equals to 4. This is a false condition. This is a false test. Then 4 less than or equals to 3. This is another false test. So I've got a false test. I've got a false test this side. When I run that, I get a false. Have you seen how this works? When you use the AND, for AND to give you a true, both conditions on the left of the AND and on the right of the AND, both of these things need to be true. Otherwise, if one of them is true, the other one is false, then it's going to give you a false. Brian?
Pardon?
Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Next, the OR operator. Now, the OR operator, you can also use it to test for multiple conditions. However, the requirement is that at least one of the conditions has to be true. Both of them can be true, but the minimum requirement for the or to give you a true is that one of the conditions on the left or on the right of the or needs to be true. So we start with this one: 3 less than or equals to 4. 3 less than 4, that's true. 3 equals to 4, that's false. So this one gives us a true. 3 less than or equals to 3. 3 less than 3, that's false. 3 equals to 3, that's true. So here we've got a true and a true. We can test them at the same time. So 3 less than or equals to 4, this one gives us this true. 3 less than or equals to 3, this one gives us a true. So you've got a true on this side. On the left, you've got a true. On the right of the or, you've got a true. So true or true, that gives you a true. So basically what you have here are 2 truths. Or just needs 1 for you to give it for it to give you a true. It needs a minimum of 1. Okay? Then we come here, 3 greater than or equals to 4. Clearly this is false. 3 less than or equals to 3, this is true. So you can test these 2 conditions at once. Say 3 greater than or equals to 4, this gives you a false. Or 3 less than or equals to 3, this gives you false, true. So the first condition is false, the second condition is true. The or condition, the or operator checks if one of these conditions is true, then it gives you a straight true, like in this case. Okay, then here we come to 3 greater than or equals to 4. This is false. 4 less than or equals to 3, this is another false. So we have got 2 false conditions which we then test at the same time. 3 greater than or equals to 4, we get a false. Then on the right hand side, 4 less than or equals to 3, you get another false. So false or false, that gives you a false. Are we clear? So the or operator needs only one of the conditions you are testing for to be true. Okay. These conditions, these comparisons are carried out first before you do an or before you do an and. The comparisons are carried out first. Python does the comparisons first. Is that clear? Then it carries out this or and whatever it is and. Then the not operator. This not operator basically changes a condition which is true into a false condition and a condition which is false into a true condition. For example, 3 less than or equals to 4. This 3 less than or equals to 4, this is true. But if you put not in front, not 3 less than or equals to 4, it's going to change the true into a false. Then you get a false. So the not changes a condition which is true into a false. Then in this case here, then you have 3 greater than or equals to 4. This is clearly false, but if you put a not in front here, not 3 greater than or equals to 4, then you get a true. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I think this one needs to move up. Needs to move this one up. This is what you've been talking about. Not testing, you can say checking. Checking. Multiple conditions using Booleans. get this. I can put it here. True operators. Okay, so just a bit of this statement. I can put it here, there. When checking for multiple conditions, the comparison of okay, that's fine. Alright, so this one can go. So basically this is what we've been doing here. I want to cut these bits there. I want to put it where? Okay, we've done this. Okay. Put it back. Using and to check for multiple conditions. So we'll use the and. Okay. This one I've done. Let me cut this. Put it here. I just put it there. It doesn't make a bit of sense, but that's what it's supposed to be. So that I don't want to have repetition, so I can delete this one and this one. We've done this. Then this one. For now, to be there, so I can remove that and that and that. Okay, so this one, okay, fine. Okay. So other times you can perform something which is known as chaining. This one is going to be a separate thing. Yeah, this one is going to be a separate thing. Just a minute. Trying to see what I'm up to. Okay, other times you can perform a process, a step, which is referred to as chaining. Chaining is basically what we have done chaining, but chaining is when you in the same line you put multiple conditions, okay? But in this case, more specifically, we want to tell Python how to do this. We want to tell Python, start with this condition, then once you've done this condition, check this other condition and check this condition and that condition, like that. Okay? And how do you tell Python which bit to do first? Well, you use parentheses. If you want to tell Python that it should do this bit first before it does the other thing. For example, here you're checking for 8 less than 3. So 8 is definitely not less than 3. This is false. Okay? Then you want to change this false into a true. So you say not. Then you put this condition 8 less than 3 in parentheses. You are trying to specifically tell Python to do this thing first. This bit first. Then you get a true. Okay, but in this case, it's not really necessary, because whether you put it in parentheses or you don't put it in parentheses, the answer is still the same. Because in this case, Python does the comparison first. Here, there is an order to which how Python does things. It does comparisons first before it does this and, or, and not. So here, basically, you using parentheses is just there for clarity. Otherwise, the answer, whether you use parentheses or you don't use parentheses, is the same. Okay, the same thing applies to here. So you're telling Python you want it to carry out this condition first. Then after it carries out this condition, you want it to do this. Then after it does that, you want it to do that. We know this is what we have here. The answer to that expression is true. So not true is going to give you this bit here is what gives you this true. Then not true is going to give you a false. Like that. If you just say not, then this, you still get a false. So in this case, when you're using parentheses, you are using parentheses for clarity, okay, to make it clear which bit is being done first, is being evaluated first. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you want to make it clear which one is being done first. Okay, then here 2 less than 1, clearly that's false. A less than B, that's true. Okay, so you've got something which is false and something which is true. Then you do this 2 less than 1 or A less than B, that. So these comparisons are done first. These comparisons are done first. Then after that, you come and use the or. So this gives you a true, like that. Then you have a problem, like in this case, not. There is a not here, a not and an or, and the and. They do the same kind of stuff. Okay? They are used for testing multiple conditions. So in this case, if you want to say, tell Python, you want, like in this case, you want it to do this first, then do a not, because this bit, we know that it's true. Then after that, you want it to do a not, then it's going to give you a false. If you don't put the brackets, as we are going to see, you get a different result. I think you might get a different result. You see, if you don't put the brackets, you get a different result. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, you get a different result. So by putting parentheses, when you're testing for multiple conditions, by putting parentheses, you make it very clear to Python, say you want these comparisons done in this particular way. Okay. So parentheses. So parentheses are used to enhance clarity. So you can use parentheses for clarity and also to enforce the order in which comparisons are carried out. So that's the row of parentheses. Enhancing for clarity, trying to show us which bit is being done first, and also for enforcing order, like in this case, because if you don't put your parentheses, as you can see, we are getting two different results. Okay, then there's this one, that, and of course there's that. The other thing to note is that this one, between not, or and, the not is carried out first. Okay, so how did we end up with this true? So there is this, the or and are done last, the not is done first, the comparisons are done first. So 2 less than 1, that's false. Okay, so you've got a false here, so here you get a false, then here you get a true, right? A false and a true. Then this false is changed into a true by this, not false. Then it becomes a true. So you end up with a true or true. Then you do that. Okay? That's how you get your true. So this one, which was false, before the or is done, before you carry out the or, the not is carried out. So the not, after you carry out the comparisons, then if there's a not, that not is going to be done first before the or and the and are done. Are we clear?
Clear.
Yes. So the not, I'll write something here. The not operator is evaluated first before the and or, before and / or operator or operators. So that's one thing to also keep in mind, that the not operator is going to be evaluated first. Okay. For the and operator, for the or, for and operator, as well as all operators. Okay. There is another way you can get a true or false value. So here we have looked at how do you get true or false values, by doing equality, checking for equality, checking for inequality, comparing numbers, doing comparisons, and also by carrying out multiple comparisons using this and, or, and not. So we've been getting true or false true. If you look at the answers we've been getting throughout, okay, it's either it's a true or a false, a true or a false, a true or a false, a true or a false. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yes, those are the only answers we've been getting today. So this lesson is deliberately designed so that the answer you get is a true or a false, true or false, true or false, like that. Okay. There is another way, apart from these things which I've done so far, there's another way you can get a true or a false. And that is if you are checking for an item in a list. Okay? If you're checking for a value in a list, if a value is in a list, then you can get it true. If that value is not in a list, is a member of a list, you can get it true. If it's not a member of a list, you can get a false. For example, we create a list of moons. Okay, so these are some of the moons. We create a list of moons, then we print it. Now, if you want to check if a particular moon, for example, this one, IO, then you're using in moons. If you want to check if IO is a member of the list moons, so you say IO, the value IO in moons. If you do this, IO in moon, okay, Python is going to check if this IO is actually a member of this list, and you can see it's here. So in this case, if it is a member of a list, then Python tells you true. You see this? So this is another way you can get a true value. When you are checking for a value in a list. So you say this particular value in this list, then you get it true. Then if you check for a value which is not in a list, for example, we're checking for this moon called Bianca. Bianca in moons. I can't see Bianca here, so it's not there. So Bianca in moons, then you get a false because it's not there. Okay. You can also check if a value is not in a list. For example, by doing this, not in Bianca, not in moons. If Bianca is not in moons, if that's true, then you get a true. Are we clear?
Yes.
So this is one way to get a true or false value. When you are checking for membership of a value to a list, if that value is in a list, you say this particular value in this list, if it's there, you get a true. If it's not there, you get a false. Or you can say not in a particular list, then you get a true. If it's not there, if it's there, you get a false. So today, this is where we stop from. We stop here today. Do you have any questions? We have done the conditional bit.
No questions for me.
Okay. Brian, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. So our next class, as we agreed, we'll be scrapping off our evening classes this week. So our next class is going to be on Sunday afternoon. So going forward, we are only going to be meeting on Sunday afternoons. Since people need to come from church, most likely again, I don't really want to make it 3 hours. Probably from 15 to 17 will be fine. We can meet for 2 hours, discuss whatever it is we're going to discuss.
Okay.
Yeah. If we don't finish that other week again like that, we'll push on. We are in March, so we're getting closer to the end of this Python business. Then after that, we start looking at the actual mathematics stuff which we need to do. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So unless you've got any questions, I will stop here. Then I've made a recording which I'm going to upload to YouTube. So on Sunday we continue so that we finish this thing. We want to finish chapter 10. Then whatever is left, we try to do whatever we can to finish stuff. So probably by the end of March, we should finish chapter 11. Then after that, if we finish chapter 11, then we'll be left with only, I think, five chapters we need to look at. So if we can finish those, then both of you live in Lusaka?
No, me, I'm in Western Province, Kaoma.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Then we're going to continue along this way. Depending on how the need is going to be, we can meet on Sunday, we can meet for 2 hours, or we can push it to 3 hours. So that's basically, it's going to be flexible. But the minimum we're going to meet for is going to be 2 hours. Okay.
All right, thank you. Good
All
night.
right. See you on Sunday. I'll send invitations for Sunday.
All right, thank you.
Okay, fine.